Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. Today we are speaking with Amy Pons. Amy is from Head to Heart, and she is the Clairsentient Master Certified Life Coach. This is so exciting. We were chatting about the divine feminine and the divine masculine powers that are at play right now. It was kind of an interesting little discussion. I'm so happy to have you on our show, Amy, and tell us about you, what you got going on. Maybe we'll delve back into Vanna White and her situation.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm on this vibe over the past year, when someone asks me, how are you? I'm no longer just doing more of the same of like, good, how are you? It's like, wait, let me pause and check in and see how I'm really doing. So when you asked me, how am I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little better. This morning I was super pissed and like ragey, and I call it my sacred rage because there's something that I've been sitting with for the past year in my own healing about. I didn't think that in my spiritual journey and leading with light and love and my heart, I swung the pendulum the other way, and I thought that I couldn't be mad. And I was like, no, I can be mad and it can be gorgeous. Because anger can lead into beautiful, inspirational passion. And that's what I have. That's kind of the difference. So I kind of, within myself, I set anger as like, okay, anger's coming up. I say hello to her. I welcome her in. And then as long as I'm getting to a next step, then I'm not dwelling in the unproductive space that can be anger. So that's kind of how I move through it. So, I
love that. That's so beautiful. And I'm thinking of fire. Anger and fire are often connected, but passion is also connected with fire and consumption. And fire destroys, but it also creates. It's energy. It's not like one of the elements. It is in itself power. So I love how you were talking about just sitting with anger and letting it, visiting with it.
Yes.
And yeah,
because
I love that.
It's part of you, and it's a part of you that could be either within this lifetime, or it could be energy from the past. It could be anything. So just giving everyone, including energy that you can't see or hear, wants to be seen and heard. So they'll tap you in other ways. So it's an invitation, always. So about me, that's a little bit, I have beautiful gifts that I've been able to unlock for myself the past year as I have gone back inward. So the first 20 years of my life was surrounded in experiences that I signed up for before I got to this plane, but I signed up to be able to learn as a human what, physical, mental, emotional abuse looks like. And then in my second 20 years, I realized that what felt safe and familiar to me was more of the same. So I entered in corporate America was perfect for me because I was wanting more of that, that trauma, that abuse. That felt safe to me at the time. And then in 2010, all the trauma from the old 20 years and like what was starting in the new 20 years kind of came to a head, and I attempted to take my life. And that's what led me into, okay, what if I didn't do more of the same? What if I were to, and I started to kind of, I look back on it and I think about my soul was starting to stir. My soul started to remember what it was to be a soul, and that I signed up to be here on this human plane. So I was like, all right. And I didn't know this much back then. I just knew that I didn't leave the plane on purpose. So good news is I stayed here. Bad or not bad, nothing's good or bad. Like, so, but the opportunity,
Other news.
I love that. In other news, I did actually jump back into corporate, and it felt really good for a minute because I was actually in a space where I was helping others with their overall health. And I was like, cool. You know, I was doing marketing for a health and wellness vitamin company, and that felt really nice. And then things shifted in my personal life in a good way and brought me to a new crossroads into, okay, what do I want to do next? And because I had this awesome, at that point, it probably would have been, 10 years of this amazing large scale corporate marketing experience. I shifted into another corporate world for the past decade. And that was the most integral part of my life as it relates to my purpose, my self-value, my self-worth, because for the first few years, I was in those like battered situations still with like bosses. And I was like, again, seeking and gravitating toward the energy that was going to help me feel safe, which again, at the time was more of that abusive, that traumatic kind of mentality. And so the first 5 years in the last organization, that's what I felt. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I started to lead the women's empowerment employee resource group at the corporation I was with. And woo, that sped up my awakening and my enlightenment, because that allowed me to see, one, my self-worth and value has I needed to go inward and work on that. 1, 2, it did not, I knew from my claircognizance, like I knew my worth and value did not align with the work I was doing kind of 9 to 5. And I was like, okay, interesting. And then that third element of the women's empowerment group allowed me to realize that, 1, I wanted to be on the front lines as part of the solution for not just women, but humanity, to say, how do we help raise our vibration overall? Because again, we've gotten into this space where humanity is flipped. And it's kind of at it is at the bottom. I will say it. The standard average workplace in America is broken. So I started to get into that vibe for about 3 years. And I loved it. I coached hundreds of women to their next best step, whether it was in the organization or outside of the organization. And that lit me the hell up. I loved it. And then I also brought that into the folks that were my direct reports, and I loved that too. So then my last stop so I retired, in quotes, I retired from the women's empowerment group because we shift every few years to make sure other women get the chance to lead. And so I was promoted again into an executive role. And so I moved away from the women's group and walked into a role that was probably the most toxic I've ever had. And I am so grateful, not grateful for the abuse, not grateful for the trauma, grateful that my spirit squad gathered and said, okay, we're going to do this one more time. We're going to see if Amy gets it this time. And I say that facetiously. Spirit's not out to trick us, but our spirit squad will try to help us remember what we signed up for on this plane. So they lovingly put this experience in front of me, and it was kind of like a switch about 1.5 years ago. And I said, oh no, what, and nothing around me felt safe or good. And the familiarity that I always had known no longer felt safe or familiar. And I was like, oh, I got to do something now. Okay. This is okay. Okay. Master alarm, beep, red, flash, heading. So, that was a gorgeous experience that I started into. And I also started numbing with alcohol so hard because I did not know what to do with anything that I was feeling. The spiritual stuff, the corporate stuff, like the always what I had always known and felt safe with stuff. Nothing felt safe or familiar. So numbing hard. And then I was stirring. You can see like my soul was starting to like really help me feel really uncomfortable so that I would like start doing the work at some point. I visited Salem, Massachusetts a year ago in October. So like the energetic vortex of Salem and and I had my very first tarot card reading and we sat down and the reader was like, whoa, you're magical. I was like, and I thought that was silly. I was like, okay, yeah, you say that to everybody. But he was like, no, you could seriously read my cards. I'm like, okay. And I kind of grasped on that. I was like obsessed with it. I was like, what does that mean? And I didn't work on it with him anymore, but I really went inward and said, what does that mean? What does that mean that I'm powerful and I'm magical? What does that mean? And I started to realize, so first and foremost, I said, today's my last day at my corporate job a year ago. And then I had no plan. Nope. I just knew I could keep going. I chose not to because I had set a firm threshold and had my own back with what I was willing to tolerate going forward in all facets of my life. I shut down all engines after I was like, I got a few more corporate offers after I left my corporate job. And I was like, what am I doing? I left for a reason. Let me take an intentional pause. So I needed to shut down everything. So I did that the rest of the 2022. And then in 2023, the beginning of this year, my husband and I were doing a lot of end of life planning. That's what I was like really passionate about. I was like, let's get our affairs in order. I was just really, really wanting to get some things done. And it was just part of my process. While I was doing that, he asked, well, and a couple of companies had asked me to consult. And I was like, yeah, I'm not ready yet. And he was like, but sometime, like maybe it makes sense to start an LLC. I'm like, sure, let's do that. And then the attorney is like, what do you want to call it? And I said, you know what I want to do? I want to unlock the magic in people that is already in them, that has been cloaked or conditioned or dimmed or tamped down, all the things that they were told not to be themselves. So I launched Unlock the Magic on February 9th this year. And I'm a master certified life coach. I got my certification in the spring. I've been exercising and practicing my gifts, which is again, clairsentience, claircognizance. I know when I create a safe, sacred coaching session with my clients, I already know where we need to get to, but I tap into your energy to help me wayfind and help you feel safe to find what we're trying to get to so that you're, again, going from your head to your heart, finding out what your heart wants to say and feel, and maybe your head won't let you, or not let. We all have our free will, but the mind is protecting you from perhaps doing something that could be unfamiliar. So we get into that, and I still tap into my marketing roots, and now I'm on this gorgeous, gorgeous journey of flow and feeling through what my next steps are. And I'm awake. That's
Feels
a little
good,
bit.
doesn't it? I always love hearing people's journeys, how they get to this point. And it's such a lovely space to be in, but it doesn't just like, you don't open the door and walk through it and then suddenly you've arrived. There's so much involved in the process. So how do you actually work with your clients? I know you said you work intuitively and connect with them, but how does that look in practical terms?
1-to-1 on Zoom.
Okay. And what types of things do you help people with? I mean, how would somebody know that they were your perfect client?
Oh gosh, I don't like the word perfect, but I get it.
Your imperfect client then.
Right. Or like so here's what people can expect when they come to me. First of all, I post all the time on my social platforms. I have my podcast. So my voice is out there, my beliefs, my values, my ideas, my vibes. And if, and so what's beautiful is I'm kind of putting out the bat signal. Like here's what I do and who I am. As people come to me and say, I think I might need a coach, we have what's called a vibe check. Am I going to be the right fit for you, and vice versa? Because as I was saying before, I want to be angry with you. I want to get in I will get in the trenches with you. And you should expect that we will get out of the trench together. And if you're not wanting to get out of the trench, I might not be the best fit, and it might be something different you might need to focus on. So I would say that my client roster right now, and by the way, it's all women, which I love. I'm not opposed to working with men, but women gravitate toward me because of I'm a badass feminist and humanity equity person in general. So because we know that the divine feminine is being called back in after thousands of years of being exiled, a lot of the things that I do and say resonate with the women that are feeling the big pinch right now in those workplaces that are broken. And by broken, I mean there hasn't been the allowance for harmonial balance with the feminine and masculine. There's just been one way. So that's what a lot of women are feeling right now. You can expect with me, come to me wanting to do the work, because we go deep. And if you don't want to go there, I'm not sure how much we can do in terms of the transformation that you're trying to make. And honestly, the people that come to me, they're ready to do the work. When you raise your hand and say, I am interested in a coach, it's likely that you, 9 times out of 10, let's say, you're ready to do the work. Because, and what's actually really gorgeous there is by simply saying, I would like a coach and starting to work with me, the universe literally starts moving mountains out of your way. And every client that I've had within 2 or 3 sessions, they'll get a new job offer. They'll have this other opportunity. And we start making the moves needed for them to become their highest self. And so what people can expect from me, to answer your question, I help you get back to the you that was able to dance like no one's watching. Like, let's go back in time. Like, what age was that? What age did you start hearing that it's just your imagination, that oh, don't sing at restaurants, it's impolite? I don't know, just like societal conditioning. Where were you on that? And we, as a coach, we don't dwell on past, we go forward, but it's important to identify when the conditioning started so that we can start to undo it, and that you can step into your unique brilliance. That's what I do. I'm the trusted ally and the sounding board to be right there with you through that transformation. And I have the 20 years of corporate and marketing to, from a business perspective, to help understand where these women right now are in the workplace.
Mainly, it sounds like you're helping professional women who are feeling kind of stuck or trapped.
Yeah, maybe I don't like to tell them that they're stuck or trapped. To your point, there are so many things that are limiting that have been put on us, like
Not that they are, but they feel like that. You
right.
sometimes feel like I can't quit this job because I've got all these things, all these obligations, and all these things that I've put on myself that are creating barriers around me, like a prison. I mean, we create our own little prisons sometimes.
we start to move from can't to could.
Yeah.
And once I have that could, I'm like a little door door opener. Like I'm just like, ooh, there, let's go there. That's where we get to, is going from can't to could, and to just start wondering what's possible. I still hear women every day in a lot of networking sessions that I am, they will say something that is very historical and patriarchal. For instance, I can't because X. That is the old world. The new world is that I can because I am. And that is what I'm trying to help usher in to women who have been handcuffed in this type of way. So, and it's not their fault. A lot of times women are told, get out of your own way. Well, I'm not in my own way. I'm not in my own way. The overarching world is in my way. And so we tap back into your unique brilliance, amplify it, and then be unapologetic about it as you seamlessly walk through and into your next step.
It allows people to be more authentic and aligned with who they really fundamentally are, which is something that's trained out of us very young. It's not polite for young girls to be loud
Fuck that.
or expressive
No, fuck that.
or unique.
No, fuck that. That's my vibe. Fuck that.
I hear you. I hear you. I feel the same way. It's taken me a lot of years to reach the point where it's just like, I don't care. I'm just going to be who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't, great.
Great. And go on with light and love. We will move away with light and love. It does not have to be. A lot of people will say, because I use curse words or that I have passion, that I'm pissed. Well, maybe I am pissed. I also have so much love and passion and bursting from me. I genuinely want for people to find that peace and grace and calmness in their central nervous system that we've never been able to have. Do it for yourself. And if people, places, and things do not align with your higher self and serve that, release with light and love. Nothing bad has to happen. You're not a bitch. Give yourself the permission to say, when do I feel my most alive? And chase the fuck out of that. That's how we're up-leveling the vibration of humanity and being able to usher back in who people really are as unique, brilliant souls, and not just this fallen line conformed version that we've had
Competing
to
with each
mask
other.
up to be. So interesting you said. So for women, what I'm starting a conversation about is I'm bringing in women from every generation. So traditionalists, boomers, X, millennial, Z, and I think it's what's under Z, alpha or something, bringing those women all together, because there's a lot of assumption that we don't have common ground. Ooh, we do. And so I'm creating a safe space with empathy and no judgment, or try to anyway. We're human still. Bring together generations and say, boomers, what are your assumptions about the generations before you or after you, and how do you feel today? And we do that along every generation so that we can make space for each other, but also find that neutral common ground so that we can say, all right, this world, especially post-pandemic, none of us know how to do it. Can we all agree on that? Let's come together and say, what do we want the new world to look like? And Z's doing it right now in their own way. They're saying, nope, not doing that. Millennials are like holding their fingers in the dam, like between all the gens. And then, and then there's some folks that are just like, I'm out, bye. And so it's just kind of bringing together, squashing some of the assumptions, better understanding, healing through it, so that then this group of women, this conversation that I'm starting, can have a ripple effect. across the world, and we can really drive the true impact and change that I so desperately want and see, so that everyone can lead with that unique brilliance that is already again in them.
Speaking my language, girl. Speaking my language. I'm all about coopetition, where everyone is unique. Everyone is really good at the thing they were gifted at. We don't have to compete with each other. We can just lock arms and all of us bring our A game. And it just makes it so much better instead of one having to be better than the other. We're all better equally or unequally. It doesn't really even matter. It's just
it doesn't matter. No,
being
women
in the flow where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. We were taught, though, to compete with each other because there's only ever one spot, if any, for a woman to be at the table, so to speak. I hate that saying, but there was only ever one spot. So then it was like, well, figure it out, duke it out. And it was like, no, I reject that. Unsubscribe.
Yeah. I'm feeling that happening more and more now than it ever has. And I am a boomer. And I remember what it was like when I was in my 20s and 30s and dealing in the corporate world and dealing with, the whole glass ceiling thing. And it was just after the Civil Rights Act when women actually started to be able to be women and work in a workplace without a lot of the ickiness. And I was on the tail end of the ickiness that happened a lot in the workplace. They talk about, I can't even remember what they call it, but it was just like you get hit on by guys. They think that was totally fine, and it was,
Misogyny, sexism,
yeah, all of that stuff. It's illegal now, but it didn't used to be.
And I would say it's still rampant.
It is. I mean,
so, even
Bill
though
O'Reilly lost his job over it.
So it's like, it's interesting because from that perspective, I have space in me to hear the sides of people that are misogynist, because I've learned that leading with that rage or anger that I've had this whole segment, their tuners or their listeners will turn off. So if someone were to say something that offends me, I will lean in and say, tell me more, because we all have to remember none of us were born with those ideas. Well, in some cases, depending on, we pick up our mothers, grandmas, great-grandmothers, everything in the womb. I digress. My point is, we're taught a lot of things. So if you can just give yourself just the tiniest lens to have any sort of grace for those people who don't know any better or refuse to know any better, they might not be your people and they don't have to be. But keep in mind your piece, your mission. And what I like to say is I give everyone space and grace. And if I don't feel safe in the conversation, or if I don't feel that I'm going to vibe with someone, I just remove myself. I have free will and autonomy over that. So I do that with light and love. Again, nothing has to be.
And we've kind of reached a point as a collective that we were learning how to set boundaries. And there was a time between manners and boundaries when it was kind of like a free-for-all. And to me, it's really nice to see this term boundaries come up. And boundaries just allow people to interact with each other in the way that they choose to be interacted with. You can set your own boundaries, but when you set your own boundaries, it makes you aware that other people have boundaries also, and so you can respect their boundaries. And, again, you don't have to like everybody. You don't have to interact with everybody. If you recognize that what they're doing and how they're doing it doesn't align with what you want in your life, you can just walk away from them. It's fine. And it doesn't have to be personal even.
Nothing bad has to happen, I think. And that's the struggle I think that a lot of women are facing, because again, we're supposed to be polite, good girls. And if we are saying goodbye or releasing someone in our lives, especially family, it's still not allowed to a certain extent. Millennials, I mean, so Jill, will you be part of my intergenerational conversation?
I would love to.
Thank you.
I would absolutely
let me know
love
if you
to.
have any. I'm on the gathering right now of women who want to be part of this conversation, and there's not a lot of criteria. It's just that, like, which generation, where were you born in, like what, and if the goal of that is like, what were you taught, just to get a sense, and then I'll come together, and those who have capacity to give safe space is the ones that I'm looking for. So great. I will jot you down. Thank you. And anyone else you think of, any other women that would be that would want to be part of the conversation of any generation. We'd love to have them.
Now, I have several generations in my family. My kids, they span from, my youngest is 19 and my oldest is 41. So I've got them all in there. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you? Where
I'm
are
on
you showing
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn and Instagram my Instagram is unlockthemagic_, and LinkedIn is Amy Pons' Magic. And my website is unlockthemagic.org.
Makes it easy. And what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today?
Remember who the fuck you are.
I'll leave it with that. I loved it. Thanks so much for joining me, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.